Hi folks, Chef Dave Machado here, the lawyer chef. Welcome to my kitchen. I got some sad news. I've been recently charged with cooking good food fast with you. Why is it sad? Because they may be coming after you next, because we've been doing it together and that makes you an accessory. Alright, but in all seriousness, what are we going to make today? We're going to cook some delicious shrimp scampi. Let's talk about shrimp scampi for a little bit in our preparation. Okay, so one of the first things I've done, I got the water going so that we can boil up our pasta. I've already chopped up an onion, half of a red onion, because I don't want you to see me cry. Sorry. What do we do with the other half? Well, typically I'm going to dice it up or slice it or whatever, and I'm going to put it in my fridge. So that the next recipe that calls for half of a red onion, I've got it already there. Or a quarter of a red onion, I've got it already there. So anyway, these are the little things that you're going to want to keep in mind. You know, okay, so I diced up half of an onion. What do I do with the rest of it? Well, you keep it and you save it somewhere else. I'd go ahead and dice it up. It helps you cook faster the next time. All right, so then we're going to do some, we're going to slice up some shallots nice and thin. And, well, let's get going. Why don't we do that? Why don't we start with the shallots? So, this is one big shallot, and so it's kind of like garlic where they come kind of like in clumps like that. And so what I'm going to do, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it in half, and then I'm going to flip it on its side, and I'm going to slice it real thin. And the reason why I'm slicing it real thin is because, you know, this is another one of these dishes that is going to cook very fast. And a shallot or shallot, tomato, a shallot or a shallot is going to cook very quickly, and you don't want it to burn anyway. But for this dish, we're going to want it nice and thin. Okay. Now, you can use a red onion instead of a shallot, or you can use a shallot or a shallot instead of a red onion, right? So you'll just use more of the one that you're using. Or you can do like I do, and you can use them both. I think it gives great flavor, gives a little bit of sweetness to it, and quite frankly, it's just really delicious. They're both really delicious, and they give it, each one has a little bit of a unique sweetness to it. So what I'm going to do now is, once I've got it sliced nice and thin, I'm going to cut that in half. All right, and I'm going to spread that out. All right, then I have the other one, which I'm going to do the same thing. This is the thinner one, so I'm not cutting it in half. Okay, I'm going to turn on the heat. All right, so we got that going. And while we're waiting for that pan to heat up, let's talk about shrimp scampi. How did we get such a delicious dish? Well, first of all, what is scampi? Scampi, quite literally, is the peeled tail of a prawn, is what it means. And a prawn is basically a species of shellfish that is related to the lobster. So basically, it's lobster, right? And it's a dish that is, you know, we're using a lot of butter, a lot of garlic, and some wine, and it makes an absolutely delicious dish. So, how did we get shrimp scampi here in the U.S.? Well, this is one of those very beautiful and delicious gifts that were brought to us by the Italians who emigrated into this country in the early 20th century. When they came to this country, they brought with them, of course, delicious recipes and things like this. But when they got here, they realized that, you know, the lobster tails and the lobsters were just really unaffordable. So they replaced the lobsters with shrimp. And that's how we got shrimp scampi. Quite frankly, I'm glad it worked out that way, because it's a delicious dish and I love it. And as you can see, I cut them up real small, okay? Nice and thin, nice and small. A red onion, similar to a shallot, is going to burn very easily if you put it too hot. So I normally will tell you that you want the pan really, really hot, and you do, okay? Now, the exception is when you're putting in red onions and shallots, because they're very delicate. We'll turn up the heat later, but initially what we want to do is we want to have it kind of like on a medium-high heat so that it doesn't burn, and we'll caramelize them. As we're doing that, as we're browning them, as we're caramelizing them, we're going to turn up the heat when we start adding other ingredients. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to add some olive oil and some butter to the pan. So grab my spoon. I'm going to come over to the stove with my butter and grab some olive oil. We'll get that going, we'll melt up the butter, and then we'll put the shallots in. Shallots, tomato. It's delicious. All right, here we go. Come on with me. We got that smoking a little bit. So I've turned it to low. Got a little bit of olive oil there. And what I like to do when I put my butter in, okay, is I like to sit the spoon right in the center of the pan there. And the reason why I do that is, rather than banging my pan and taking the risk of ruining the pan and scratching it up, once that happens and the spoon heats up, it just comes right off. That's how we want to do it. And we're going to mix this up here. Put our shallots in. And we're just gonna mix these around, right? Keep them going. We don't want them sitting too long. We don't want them to burn. If you can't do this, I've said it before, folks, don't feel bad if you can't do that. I picked up a lot of stuff off the floor when I first started cooking, and I still do occasionally, so don't feel bad. I can already smell that beautiful smell from these shallots. Shallots. All right, they're browning up lovely. I think it's time we put in some onions. Let's do that. All right, let's mix these up in there as well. That smell is absolutely delicious. That smell of that butter with the red onion and the shallots. Oh, this is going to be amazing. I'm going to turn it up just a little bit. So, shrimp scampi. Amazing shrimp scampi. It's going to be delicious. So let's talk about shrimp for a minute. When you buy shrimp at the store for this recipe, you want to make sure that you buy the raw shrimp. Do not buy the pre-cooked shrimp. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about, when you get to the frozen section or even the fish section of the grocery store, you're going to see a gray, kind of a gray translucent shrimp. Those are raw. If you see them where they're kind of pinkish orangey, those are cooked already. You don't want those. You want the raw ones, okay? If you get charged with mutilating shrimp, I won't defend you because I'm telling you what to do. All right, I'm kidding. Okay, I'll always defend you. Okay, I'm going to mix this up again and we're going to come back. Now, it's time to put in the garlic. I've got about 4 tablespoons of garlic. Is that a lot of garlic? Yes, that's a lot of garlic. This is a garlic butter dish. We're going to also be adding more butter. So, that's okay. Shrimp scampi is garlic butter. We're going to use a lot of garlic. If you don't like garlic, get yourself checked out because there's something wrong with you. Delicious. Let's put it in. You don't want to put the garlic in too soon either because the garlic can burn too. So, that's what we're doing. And so, when I first put in the olive oil, I put in about I'd say about a tablespoon of olive oil and probably, another heaping tablespoon of butter. Don't worry, folks. I'm going to put the recipe in the links below. Okay? But I'm going to add another tablespoon of each. And again, I'm going down to the center. I'm warming up that spoon, and see how that butter just rolls right off? That's how you want to do it, folks. I'll come back here. So now what we want to do is I'm going to add some parsley and I'm going to add some capers. They're going to bring some great flavor to this dish. Here's my parsley. Here's my capers. Make sure, you don't have to rinse them, but make sure that you drain them well, because you don't want that briny flavor in this dish. But the capers themselves are going to be absolutely delicious. So let's go over and do that. We're going to use about half of the parsley, and then we're going to use all of the capers. We use the other half later on when we're going to plate and at the end. Okay, let's go put these in. We're going to use the spatula. We're going to mix everything up. And I'm turning it back down a little bit. Alright? And make sure that when you got stuff around the edge of your pan, that you bring it back down into the center. Why? Well, because otherwise it's going to burn. So I turn this down. I turn that down. And now what's next? Next thing we're going to do is we're going to add some cherry tomatoes. I've got a bunch of cherry tomatoes, as you can see here. There are 15. I counted. And I'm going to take 10. Okay? I'm going to take 10. I'm going to slice them in half. And we're going to put them in the pan. Why? Because we want some acidity in the dish. Just going to cut them in half. Don't have to go crazy. They're going to blister. They're going to start losing some of their juice because it's going to go into the pan. And it's going to be delicious, folks. We're going to get some more acidity with the lemon when we add lemon later. But for right now, let's go put these tomatoes in. Alright, so we'll mix this up. And then, what I'd like to do is I'm going to put some wine in the dish now. We're going to start off with a cup, and we'll probably add another half a cup later. So we're going to use about a cup and a half total of a nice dry, it doesn't have to be a super dry white wine, but a dry-ish white wine. I'm using a Pinot because that's what I had open in my fridge. I opened it up last night for another dish that I was cooking. And it's going to be delicious. If you don't have a Pinot, it's not like the dish requires a Pinot. As a matter of fact, you might even want to use a Chardonnay. That's going to be delicious. All I ask is that if it's not something you're willing to put in a glass and drink, don't use it to cook. We want to use quality ingredients, and that includes the wine. So, I cringe every time I hear somebody say, well, I'm just going to cook, so I'm just going to use cheap wine. Well, use good wine, because we're not, like I said, we're only going to use about a cup and a half. And what are we going to do with the rest of the bottle? That's what we're going to do with the rest of the bottle. And if it's cheap and nasty wine, we're not going to want to drink that. Let's go put in the wine. All right, I'm going to get the shrimp now. We're going to season the shrimp. It's not going to take very long at all. It's going to take maybe 2 minutes, minute and a half to 2 minutes for that shrimp to cook up nice and become that nice golden orange, orangey yellow color, orangey pink color, and it's going to be delicious. And then that's when we put in our pasta. I'm using angel hair. We're looking maybe 3 minutes max for the angel hair. So remember, this is a process, right? So we gotta have our prep done, and we gotta do it in the right order, because otherwise it's gonna take forever. Your shrimp's gonna overcook, your pasta's gonna overcook, or you're not gonna get the pasta done on time if you do it too late, or if you do it too early, it's gonna be mushy. So let's not do that. Hold on. All right, so I got these beautiful shrimp, and I got the medium size, which is, you know, about that, you know. So there they are. They're peeled and deveined. So they're peeled and deveined. What's the first thing we're going to do? We're going to add salt. Why? Salt is flavor. What's that? That is about a tablespoon of salt. And I'm going to use some garlic powder. I told you that's about half a teaspoon of garlic powder. I told you we're going to use a lot of garlic today. And we're going to use some fresh cracked pepper. And we're going to use about a teaspoon of the fresh cracked pepper. And it's going to be delicious. All right. So, grab my silicone spoon, mix this up in here, make sure that every piece of shrimp is nicely coated. Look at that. This is going to be delicious, folks. I can't wait. I can't wait to eat this. All right, so I'm going to set this aside. Why do I set it aside? Because I'm going to kick up the scampi a notch. How? I'm going to get some fresh basil. I cut this out of my garden about 15 minutes ago. Let me mix up the sauce real quick, and I'll come back and tell you about the basil. All right, so 7 leaves. You want to get the biggest one, and you want to put it on the bottom, and you just kind of want to stack them. This makes your life a little bit simpler and easier. Like we used to say in the Army, work smarter, not harder, okay? And you can just kind of set it down like that. You can fold it. You can do whatever you want. But as long as you got it all stacked up, it's nice. Let the knife do the work for you, okay? See that? Just rocking the knife back and forth on this delicious basil, okay? And for those of you who want to know what that's called, this is called a chiffonade. That's what it is. It's a chiffonade. And then we're going to get all this beautiful basil that we have just chiffonade. I just like saying chiffonade. So we're going to take the chiffonade basil and we're going to put it in our sauce. And that's going to just kick up that flavor a lot. It's going to spike it. It's going to be delicious. Let's go put it in there. You can barely even see the shallots anymore, but I promise you, you're going to taste them. I'm going to turn on the heat and warm up my pan for the shrimp, because I'm going to sear them up separately. And I'm getting everything off the side of the pan because I don't want it to burn. Okay? See how those tomatoes have all wilted up nicely and So all that juice is going in, all that juice, all that flavor is going into the sauce. All right, so we're getting real close, folks. I'm going to get the oven going. I'm going to put the piece of bread in there because, of course, we've got to have garlic bread when we're having shrimp scampi. Wouldn't be shrimp scampi without garlic bread. So I've got this beautiful roll, and you grab your serrated knife. That's what the serrated knife is for. It's all right. It's for bread, and we're going to cut this. We're going to slice it in half. But we're just going to stick it in the oven, let that toast up nicely, then we'll put some garlic butter on it. It's going to be delicious. Let's go. All right, so that's going. Let's get our garlic going. So what do or our garlic shrimp. So here I'm going to put about a teaspoon of butter in the pan. That's going to melt up, and we're going to put our shrimp in there. It's going to take 2 minutes max. Let's go. There we go. All right, here we go. Now, what you want to make sure is that they're not stacked on each other. Because if they're stacked on each other, they're not going to cook. Or at least the one that's on top is not going to cook, right? There's a lot of shrimp here, folks. We're going to talk money in a little bit. So, let's put the pasta in. I got about a ½ pound of angel hair that I'm putting in. And for heaven's sakes, please don't break the pasta. Just put it all in together. Put in some olive oil into the water. Grab your favorite tongs and just kind of twist it around in there so that I don't want it to stick. I don't want it to stick. And if you're looking at the shrimp, look how that shrimp is already starting to turn that beautiful pink-orange color. Next thing I want to do is I want to add some salt. I want to add some salt to my pasta water. All right. So remember I told you I'm going to add about a ½ cup of wine? There it is. All right. Let's flip these guys. No, there's no fancy way of doing it. Just grab your tongs and do it. Alright, so we flipped them all over. Let's put this guy in the middle where he gets a little bit more heat. Move all these guys over a little bit. Alright. Now, I'm going to grab a lemon, and I'm going to put some delicious lemon zest right on top of the shrimp. So why don't you come with me? I'm going to turn the sauce off for just a second. Come on. Make sure you turn the lemon. You don't want to go down to the rind. You just want the zest. And this is going to give it some really great flavor. shrimp is turned off. Yep, that's all done. Pasta's about to be done. I'm turning my pasta off because if I was a betting man, I'm going to say it's done. Perfect. Maybe another 30 seconds. I'm going to grab my shrimp and I'm going to put the shrimp in the sauce. And we're going to turn that back on. We're going to put it all the way to low. And we're going to mix this up a little bit and get some of that flavor onto this beautiful shrimp. Alright, and we're going to turn this off, let the shrimp rest in its new home. So as you can see, there it is, hooked onto my pot, and I just come over here. Boom. Makes life so much easier. Alright, so I got my pasta in there. I'm going to add some butter to the pasta. Why? Why not? And we're going to add some more salt. We're going to add some more salt to the pasta. Just about half a teaspoon. I'm going to mix it up. All right. So we got this beautiful toasted roll, and I went ahead and made some garlic butter earlier. How do I make the garlic butter? Well, pretty simple. You get about half a stick of butter, which is about 1/8 of a pound, because a stick is 1/4 pound. So you get about 1/8 of a pound or a half a stick of butter, and you stick it in the microwave for, I don't know, maybe about 10 seconds, no more than 11 or 12, because you don't want it to separate, you just want it to become soft. And then you add about a teaspoon of garlic powder, and then you just get this really delicious garlic butter to make some really delicious garlic bread. So here we've got, there we go. Let's put a little bit more on the other side. Which is your favorite? I like the bottom always, but I don't know why, but I've always liked the bottom better. What do you like, the top or the bottom? Let me know in the comments below. Also, let me know in the comments below, if there's anything you'd like me to cook for you and show you how to cook in 30 minutes or less. So again, I'm grabbing my serrated knife and I'm going to cut it down the center this way. Why? Because I think it's going to look prettier on the plate when I plate it. Maybe not, I don't know. I'm going to add another tablespoon of butter to the sauce. Why? It's going to thicken it up. It's off, and that's when we do it. If we were to have the heat on, it would separate all completely, and it would just make it even runnier. But we want to thicken up that sauce just a little bit. It's going to be delicious. Let's do it. And then, see there, once it's in, we just kind of mix it around with everything, and it thickens up, and it's making that really beautiful, delicious sauce that's going to just give us some great flavor. We're going to love having that on our pasta. Okay, look at that. One thing I didn't do, let's cut these guys up and we'll put these on at the end. Okay. I'm going to use a nice big black bowl because I think it's going to look amazing, and the contrast is going to be with this big bowl. Let's get some pasta. Alright. We get some pasta. Let's get a little more than that. Okay. Not too much, because the star of this dish is the shrimp. So Do that. Turn it around a little bit. I'm going to bring this over here. Grab a ladle. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to get some sauce, and we're going to pour that on top here. Pour this on top. There's some shrimp. All right. Grab my tongs, and now let's get some more stars of the show in here. And you can just line the pasta. You can just line the pasta with them. Some more tomato. So now we're doing, let's see, how many we got here? We got 3, 6. Oh, what happened over there? 7, 8. All right, so we got 6, 9, 10, 11, and we got 12. All right. So we got 12 pieces of shrimp. Okay, let's talk money, folks. Let's talk money because, you know, in these financial times where, you know, everything is more expensive, you go to a restaurant and normally, look at this beautiful dish. Normally this dish would cost you, you know, between 15 and 20 bucks, and that was pre-COVID. Now it's probably over 20 bucks, and I promise you that you're not going to get, you know, 12, 13 pieces of shrimp like we have here. And then I'm going to put some zest. This is going to bring out some additional flavor. It's going to be delicious. Okay, look at that. I'm going to take a piece of this lemon. I'm going to cut it, and I'm going to give it some beautiful juice. That lemon juice is going to really bring out the flavors in the shrimp. It's going to bring out the flavors of the capers and the tomatoes and everything else. Now let's put some tomatoes here. We'll line the dish up with some tomatoes. And look at that, folks. This is a really beautiful dish that we've got here. And what else completes this dish? Parmesan cheese, of course. Let's get some. Now I like to use fresh and grate it. I'll tell you what, folks, nothing beats it. You see this big old hunk of Parmesan cheese? Well, I bought this big old hunk of Parmesan cheese for $7.34. Okay? And it's 3/4 of a pound. Alright? What are you getting in that green jar? You're not getting 3/4 of a pound of really delicious, fresh Parmesan cheese, right? You're not getting that. But you are when you make it at home, right? So, again, $7.34 for this big old jar, or excuse me, this big old clump of Parmesan cheese. And, you know, what does a big jar of the green stuff cost you? I don't know, but it's not going to be, and you're certainly not getting 3/4 of a pound, and you're probably spending more money per pound. So think about that, folks. This is an absolutely delicious dish. We've got some I'm not sure that I really care for the presentation of the garlic bread on there, but you better believe I'm going to eat it with the garlic bread because it's delicious. So let's try it. yeah, folks. I got some shrimp. I got some tomato. Let's try this. Amazing, folks. The shrimp is the star of the show. It's got some great flavor. The sauce is amazing. It's so garlicky. It's delicious. You get the acidity from the tomatoes and the lemon, and that lemon just gives it a burst of flavors. I tell you what, party in my mouth! Delicious. Do me a favor, folks. If you like shrimp scampi, if you like making this in a short amount of time, saving some money, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe button, hit the bell notification. You'll get notified every time a new episode comes up. And I'll tell you what, folks, we're making some good food fast. That's what's important here. Now, we talked money briefly. I spent about $24.98, so that's just under $25. I only made enough shrimp. I only cooked shrimp for 2 servings. However, I got another 2 servings in the fridge. Okay, so $24.95. That's my shrimp, my red onions, my scallions, the butter, the shallots, the garlic, tomatoes, basil I pulled out of my garden, and this delicious big old hunk of Parmesan cheese, right? So when you calculate what you've spent, based on what you've used, this is less than $25. And we've got 4, maybe 5 dishes that we can serve with the amount of money that's been spent. So what does that mean? That means if we do 4 dishes with this, that's $6.25 per plate. $6.25 per plate for this beautiful, delicious dish of shrimp scampi with 12, 13 pieces of fish. Where are you going to get that at, or 12, 13 pieces of shrimp? Where are you going to get that at a restaurant? I don't care where you live. The answer is nowhere. You're going to get it in your kitchen because you made it yourself, you made it with love, and you made it for your family at an economical cost, and it's delicious. They're going to be asking for more. Folks, I'm Dave Machado, the Lawyer Chef, cooking good food fast with you.